one of the great unsolved mysteries of space. What happened to the water that used to cover the surface of Mars? If NASA's Maven spacecraft succeeds, we may finally learn the answer. The probe arrived in Mars orbit this week after traveling some 442 million miles over 10 months. Previous missions to the red planet have searched for lost water below the surface. But Maven will look for signs that Mars's water went skyward, stripped away by the solar winds that have been battering the planet for billions of years. And since Mars comes the closest in our solar system to resembling our own planet, Maven's findings could help tell us what Earth's future may hold. Here to shed more light on this space mission is Tim Deschamps. He's the senior digital editor at Nova here at WGBH, not Greater Boston, and the editor of the Nova Next blog. Welcome back to Greater Boston.
Thanks for having me.
So, what exactly is Maven hoping to find? Is it going to have to land, right?
It won't. Maven will stay in orbit. It's going to kind of zip around the atmosphere right now at a very broad orbit, and then soon they'll be positioning it more closely. At times it'll come very close to the planet, 77 miles. To give you some context, the International Space Station, which is generally considered in low Earth orbit, is 260 miles above the planet. So it's going to be skimming through the atmosphere, trying to pick up clues as to what happened to the water and the other gases.
And how do they do that? Is it moisture readings? Is it, pull from the solar winds? Or
right now they're going to be looking at a couple of different gases. Mostly they're going to be looking at volatile gases that may have escaped and try to look at the rate at which those are leaving the atmosphere. As you said, they're also looking at solar winds because Mars is particularly affected by solar winds that our planet isn't. We have a magnetic shield kind of that's protecting our atmosphere, and Mars doesn't have that. And so they're thinking that might be one of the reasons why is that the atmosphere has kind of blown away in the solar winds over billions of years.
All right, is this some kind of an existential search, or does this have some deeper meaning? Does it have something that we can apply to Earth, or is it just a curiosity factor?
It's mostly a curiosity factor. They think that at one point in time Mars might have been able to harbor life, and if they can trace back and measure how much atmosphere has been lost over time, they can guess how dense it was in the past, and that could give us a clue as to what has happened to life on Mars, and could give us clues as to potentially to the origin of life on Earth as well.
I mean, obviously it wouldn't be too good if Earth lost its water either.
Right,
so,
right.
Can you take from the Maven mission and apply it to Earth, even though it would be similar, but not really?
Right. In billions of years, it is possible that we could potentially lose our magnetic field as the Earth cools and plate tectonics starts slowing down. From there, then we might start seeing the same sort of process. But again, it would probably be billions of years off.
So how much water was there on Mars? Was it similar? What are we, 3/4 of the Earth is water?
Yes, I don't know the exact amount off the top of my head, but there was enough on there to create valleys and rivers and potentially oceans. Yes.
And if the water was there, isn't it a logical next step that there was some form of life?
It's possible. They like to think that. They think they have a lot of, they being scientists and astro people, but it's not certain. Until they find some real signatures of life, they can't say for sure.
And is there any way to find it in the orbit?
There is some possibility. They might pick up some traces of gases that might indicate that life once existed. Really for this one, though, they're looking for the circumstances that would have enabled life to exist rather than the exact signatures themselves.
So what do you think, Tim? Is this some kind of a precursor to a manned mission way down the road? Because you can't take that much time to get there, and who knows what that would do to the body to go that fast.
That's true, exactly. And NASA always says this when they send out Mars missions, so it's tough to say whether this is actually going to be a precursor to a real manned mission or not.
And if it were manned, though, they'd have to land.
They would have to land, and we do have experience with that. They did a good job putting down the Curiosity rover, which received a lot of media attention and coverage. So I think setting a craft down on the surface of Mars would be relatively easy.
And this one took 10 months to get there, and how long will it take for them to get their data?
It'll start coming in. They'll have at least a month and a half before they start collecting any information at all. So they have to fire up the systems, get things going, and test everything out, and then position it in the final science orbit, as they call it, which is much closer than where it's at right now.
We will be checking back in with you.
Great,
Tim
thank you.
Deschamps, thanks so much.